Right?
All right, we'll go ahead and get started then. I don't think anybody else is going.
If they do come out here and talk to speech.
Everybody's probably
Oh, yeah.
listening, maybe.
That's what my
I was
saying,
taping
walk through
for,
the contact, what
going
are
to the
you
doctor.
I used to be a caller, when I was in high school, we had to talk to.
I was one of those people, she asked the question about.
Oh.
One of
Hi.
those friends that didn't know.
My name is Bob Schmeny, and I'm going to try and give you some helpful hints
This session isn't going to.
on public speaking. Without looking at your soul, because you know what session this is already, what are we going to talk about today?
Public speaking.
Did you enjoy that introduction, or was it, did it engage you?
It made me wanna walk out.
Let me try it again.
Oh, no, I liked it.
Good morning, Lions.
Morning.
My name is Bob Cheney, and today I'm going to try and help you take some effective tools to make you a better public speaker. Hopefully that'll work for you. All right? Is that more engaging?
Yeah.
Did I get your attention?
Yes.
Well, in one session I did in Madras, I think I scared some people because I come in and yell. So I decided to tone it down a little bit.
I'll vouch for that one.
That's what we're here today. The title of this session is So You're Afraid to Speak. We're going to try and work on that. But first, I want to give you a little background on myself. I've been a lion. I've walked, as you all know, and I got to stay in one place because of this stupid camera. I've been a lion for 16 years. I've been involved in my club in just about every office except for secretary. I will not hold the secretary position. Congrats to you, Tom. I know you've done it 1,000 times. And I've also been involved on the district level and have been district governor once and going to do it again. A little personal information, and I'm not afraid to say this, I'm 58 years old, and they all call me the baby. Because I'm pretty much the youngest one on anything. And I own a small newspaper in southwestern, you can get my directions straight, in southwestern Oregon. I have 2 grown children and 3 grandchildren. What I like to do in my spare time, as any of you might know, if you've been to any of our recent conventions, I like to perform with my lip sync band. When I was growing up, I didn't ever plan to be a public speaker or a trainer. Sure, I was involved in the school play like we all are, but I didn't plan to do that. I had no aspirations. When I was a junior in high school, I was forced to take a speech class. Well, as time got closer, we had to choose our topic. I had an interest in U.S. history, so I chose the Presidents of the United States. The day finally arrived. I was petrified. Soon became my turn. So I approached the podium with some 35 pieces of paper in my hand, and my first speech went something like this. George Washington was the first president of the United States. He served from 1787 to 1797. John Adams was the second president of the United States. He served from 1797 to 1801. Thomas Jefferson was the third president of the United States. He served from 1801 to 1809. 38 pieces of paper later, I was done. And I walked off there, and I swore I'd never do it again. 13 years later, I graduated from Walla Walla University with a bachelor's degree in speech communication. And I've embraced my public speaking journey since. Like my wife tells me, and she tells anybody who will listen, there's never been a microphone invented that Bob isn't in love with. And we've probably witnessed that a few times. I know Tom has. So what is one of the biggest things that keeps you from speaking? Nervousness, fear. Okay? Couple ways, well, you've all heard the one about when you get up there, look out, picture your audience in their underwear. I'm telling you, don't do that. Do not do that. Because if I got up here and looked out and pictured Richard in his underwear, I'm going to start laughing so hard I couldn't have been able to speak. So don't do that. But there are a couple things you can do prior to getting on stage to alleviate nervousness. One is deep breathing. Take slow, deep breaths. Not think that you're a pervert or something. Just slow, deep breaths like you're at the doctor and they're listening to your chest. Another way is to sip water. I use it a lot because I get dry mouth when I'm speaking. So, and at the last one in Madras, I had to have somebody run out and give me a glass of water because I forgot to get it. Once you get out there, you can look out at your crowd. Take a deep breath before you start. It helps cleanse the body and get rid of that. Public speaking has three major components, and all three of them have to be believable in order for you to be credible and believable as well. One, there's the visual, which what the audience sees. The vocal is how you speak the words and how they're spoken. And verbal is the content of your program. And I want to talk a little bit about these three areas. In the visual, there are three major things that go on with the visual. Eye contact and eye movement. You want to make sure that you make eye contact with people in the audience. And when you're talking to them, make that point, stay with them, engaged, and then move on. Don't go, well, I was this and that, and let those eyes just flutter around the room. You've lost everybody. But also, if I started this presentation, I'd come over here, and I'd have been talking right here to Tom and Daryl. Within 30 seconds, I've lost this side of the room. They're disengaged. They don't care what I have to say anymore because it appears that I don't care about them. So make sure you make eye contact. Each side of the room and in the back. So if I just went like this, talk to you guys, Bruce back there is going to go, Bob doesn't care about me. Why should I listen to this guy? And pretty soon he'll be on his phone trying to look up my line. That's over there, by the way, Bruce. But make sure you engage your audience with your eyes. The second is body movement and body language. Gestures are great to accentuate points. And if you're a walker like I am, and I'm staying still today because I have that camera on me, make sure that your audience can hear you. If there's not a portable microphone available, stay at the podium. Okay? But if there is, you can walk, because I walk and I talk with my hands, but make sure it doesn't take away from your presentation. Don't get so grandiose that it takes away. And I've said this in several of them. I was judging a speech competition a couple of years ago. This young lady had this magnificent speech. The points were fantastic, and she was making them. But every time she would make a point, she would go, and I started watching for the ands. I started watching for this, and I disengaged from what she was saying. And I even though I'm judging this, I took away from it. I was waiting for the next big gesture. So make sure. And along with that, practice makes perfect, right? Engage yourself in front of a mirror. Give your speech, your presentation in front of a mirror, at least 5 to 7 times. So you can see if you have some odd gestures, you have words that give you odd special facial expressions, and see how I'm doing it now. So make sure that when you talk, there's not something that gives you an odd looking face that's going to, or you stumble over the words. The third component of visual is dress and appearance. Okay. Now, all of you are kind of, and I can't do it today, I normally do this, but I would have asked you at the beginning, because I came in and I noticed that all of you were kind of in either club vest or polos or something like that. I would have asked you if you mind if I get comfortable, and I would have taken off my jacket and taken off my tie. But I can't do that because I have a presentation after this that I have to be here. But by doing so, it allows me to identify with my audience more. It doesn't make me, and it gives me credibility with my audience. It makes me one of you. It's like if you were a group of top-notch executives in three-piece suits, I wanted to come through that door in a t-shirt and jeans, and thought I was going to get your respect. And conversely, if you were just a group of farm workers or just general workers or anything like that, and I came in a three-piece suit and stood up here and spouted out stuff, you guys aren't going to listen to me. I have no credibility with you. So be aware of the credibility with your audience. Identify with your audience. One thing that I did when I was district governor, Tom, district governor, district past council chair, coming up soon. One thing that I did is I always went to the president of the club before the meeting and said, where do you have me at on your agenda? And he'd tell me, or she would tell me, and say, please put me very last on your agenda. Well, okay, a lot of them, why, I said, because I want to hear what your club is doing. It's about you guys. I want to hear what your club's doing in your community. And I can identify, and then I would take those little tidbits that I heard in the meeting, and I would build them into my talk, to synthesize them into my talk. And if I talked about environment, and they were having an environmental project, I referenced that environmental project that Mary had talked about earlier. Give her recognition. That gives me rapport with Mary, because I'm able to, Mary, I love what you said earlier about the environment, about the Adopt a Highway program. What a wonderful, I'm so glad you guys are doing it. I did that with all of my talks, and I didn't have a set talk, which was probably wrong on my part, because you should have an outline of what you're going to say, but we'll get into that in just a minute. The second component, major component, is the vocal. And when I came in here the first time, and there's two components there, voice and language. I came in here the first time, and I was just up here looking at my phone, just kind of talking in a monotone voice. And if I did that the whole time, within about 30 seconds, I've lost everyone again. Okay. Voice is very, very, it has to be very meaningful. Accentuate the point, hold it. They call it a pregnant pause. It doesn't hurt to have a silent spot there. It lets it sink in with your audience. And I'll tell you, one of the best examples of that, I think, ever were the Southern Baptist preachers when they would do the fire and brimstone. You're going to hell if you don't. They would send that point home. They'd hammer on the podium, but it got the point across. And then they'd stop and they'd come back very soft. It made the point sink in. So vary your tone. And if you're in a small room, it's okay. Or if you're in a large room, make sure that you can be heard in the back of the room. We talked about this at Northwest Lions last weekend. Make sure that, ask somebody back there, Bruce, you can hear me all right, right?
No.
Okay, well, that's because you don't have your hearing aid turned up. I know that. But ask somebody. If you know somebody back there, just say, hey, can you, in the back of the room, can you hear me all right? Do I need to speak up? If you don't have a microphone available. Always good to make sure everybody can hear you. You hear it in here already in the sessions we've had. We've been running that microphone around everywhere. And because people want to ask questions, and a lot of people are afraid of a microphone. so make sure you can project out there so people can hear your voice and hear what you have to say. Language. the second component of the vocal. Don't use big $5 words. Most people don't care about that. You can say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. They don't care. Talk to them as people. And it's just like I own and operate a newspaper. There's studies been done for years. You write the newspaper at an 8th grade level. You don't put in a lot of, with your news, you don't put in a lot of stuff that the majority of the public doesn't understand. Because you start spouting big, powerful words. Also, you can stumble over them, which loses your credibility, but then they think, oh, this guy thinks, or this gal thinks they know more than me, and blah, 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 and you've lost them. The other component is the verbal. That is the bulk of your presentation, the content of your presentation or speech. And if you're doing an LCI presentation, usually that is provided to you. They have a set curriculum for you to follow, but you don't have to follow it verbatim. They tell you, make it your own. You know, go through it, make sure that you can relate that. At Northwest Lions, I changed up, I had the curriculum there, and I changed up 3 different things within the program. But was it effective? Was it effective? You got to know your audience, but make sure you have that well in mind. If you write your own, and we talked about this last week too, outline it. But don't sit down and write everything out, word for word for word. Take yourself an outline. There's an opening, 3 major points, or 4, or whatever it may be, and a conclusion. So sit down first and outline what you're going to say. It doesn't have to be whole sentences, it can be key words. 1 word, 2 words, whatever. By doing that, you put yourself in an order, and it also you don't ramble over here, ramble over there, and you don't lose your spot. Because you can either take the outline up, if you have a podium, people use note cards. I think the best way to stay on task doing that is by doing a PowerPoint presentation. You can put your whole outline there as different slides. And that also lets you see it. But it also gives you something to know where you're at with your presentation and know where you need to go. In the opening of an outline, and if you haven't been introduced by somebody, introduce yourself. Give something to get their attention, an anecdote, an emotional story, but make it relatable to what your subject matter is. And then introduce your subject that you're going to talk about. Tell them, we're going to talk about public speaking today. And then go, and also in your opening, get a little personal about yourself. Because you might say something like, I was in the military for 5 years, and that might identify with Carol Lee. That might just grab her attention and say, oh, I was in the military, or my son's in the military. Hey, this guy might, I might want to listen to him or her. Or tell a joke. And some of the anecdotal stuff, audience loves it when you can tell a joke or a funny story on yourself. If you're not afraid to laugh at yourself, and like I did, that was the worst speech I've ever given in my life. But those things relate to your audience. And practice, practice, practice. How am I doing on time, guys? I got 45 minutes.
25.
Oh, 25. Oh, good. Well, you know, I went to Faculty Development Institute back in January in Reno. And basically what Faculty Development Institute is training you to become a trainer. So you can go and do these sessions like this for your district, your multiple district, and what I hope to do, USA Canada Forum someday, maybe even international someday out there in the great beyond. But one thing that's always brought out, and you should always bring out, involve your audience. Involve your audience. Just don't sit here and I can spout to you all day long, and I can keep talking and talking and talking. But I want to involve my audience. I want you to, because if I involve you and let you talk about it, it becomes more personal to you. You internalize it. So we're going to do a group thing, and I don't have 4 tables today, so we're going to be very impromptu here. All right, so we'll do this. This is table 1, table 2, table 3. Okay. What I'd like you guys to do is take the 2 different introductions I did of this subject, and I want you guys to take both of them and analyze them from a visual standpoint. Okay? Eye movement, contact, dress and appearance, and body movement. So talk about what I did right, what I did wrong, which was more effective, why it was more effective, and that type of thing. Okay? This table here gets to take it from a vocal standpoint, the 2 introductions. My voice and my language on the first and the second one. Was it monotone? Was it engaging? Was I low toned? Did I use big words? Which was the best? What I did wrong? What I did right? Okay. And you guys, I'm going to let you do it. I've never done this one before, so you guys are going to be my guinea pigs. I want you to take it from the verbal standpoint, the content. Okay. Was the content, I tried to vary it a little bit, so tell me, the content good, was it bad for both of them? Did I talk to you? And you can look at it from other aspects as well, because once we get through, I might give you probably about 15 minutes. I want you guys to choose a spokesperson for your table and talk about what your table discussed, summarize what your table discussed, each table. So, and if you have any questions, I'll be right here. So, all right, you got about 15 minutes.
15 minutes. He's good. Boy, that's a way to use up time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Turn it over to somebody else.
That's the purpose of a trainer. A trainer is able to engage his audience, but also gives the trainer, so he's not standing up there, he or she's not standing up there spouting.
Yeah. Well, I did come into this late, so I don't know if you covered the fact.
I did too.
It's
Okay.
imperative that you know, you've researched and you know and you believe in your subject.
Well, what I did is, when I came through the door, I came in with my phone. I walked up here, I was looking at my phone, and I just said, "Hi, my name is Bob Cheney, and I'm going to talk to you about public speaking today." So, okay, and then I don't know, were you here for my second one? And when I came in the second time, I said, "Good morning, Lions.
Yeah.
My name's Bob Cheney.
Yeah.
I'm here today to hopefully offer you some helpful techniques and tips to make you a more effective public speaker." Those were the 2 openings that were discussed.
Okay, thank you. I think he's looking for critique. He's got a good tone to his voice, a bass tone. It's pleasant and easy to listen to. He could use more volume, in my opinion, but I'm a little bit hard of hearing, but he could use a little more volume. If I had to say anything about what I've heard so far, I would say that it's very good. I was looking at that, possibly a little more volume.
Yeah, I think so. He's got a nice soothing voice, I think. It's a good voice.
I'll never forget when I went to Klamath Falls, do my presentation at the Klamath Falls meeting. Well, you know, the room is full of old past district governors. And so they started asking me questions, and I should know the answer to them. Of course I didn't. They were pulling my chain. I spotted that right away. I knew you know, Firestone and all. I know what they were doing, but it really got me discombobulated. They knew, they asked the question they knew that I wouldn't know the answer to.
I was looking all over
Having
where I
a
set
good
my
time.
heart on it.
One of the areas that he left out is it's very important to pronounce the words in, if you're going to use a quote, or if you're going to use any quote from anything, I guess, it's very important that you make sure you know how to pronounce the words in the quote.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, and I say that from an experience I had. I used to give speeches at graduation, you know, and one time I was using a quote that said, you need to think. You know, at times you need to think. And I made this mistake of mispronouncing think. Now, what do you think I said?
You need to stink.
You need to drink.
Oh, drink. High school that was, yeah. And I'm glad you
And the interesting thing is, there was absolutely, I mean, there's 1,000 people in this gym at the time. And at the time, there was absolutely, you could hear a pin drop. I said, you know, and I just, I mean, I realized what I had said.
Uh-huh.
You know, here I'm telling these graduates, you need to drink.
You need to drink.
Another great example, that, and I'm glad you brought that up, is because, yeah, that comes with the practice. If you have the content and if you write yourself to work with all that, stand in front of the mirror and practice it, you'll and know the words. But one great example of that is John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy wanted to endear himself to the German public when he was there.
Oh, yeah.
And he stood up in front of a group in Berlin and says, "Ich bin Berliner," and everybody busted up laughing. "Ich bin Berliner" means I'm a donut. He doesn't say he was a Berliner, identifying with the people of Berlin,
Yes.
but instead he called himself a donut.
But the advantage was, after I did that, you know, there's this complete silence. And then I corrected myself, you know, I said, I need to say that. And so, but the interesting thing is, the audience always remembered that.
I was gonna say, they
And
would remember
for
that.
a year, in fact, somebody came up to me in the street and said, "Are you going to give a talk at graduation this year?" I said, "I can hardly
I
wait."
was gonna say, you were probably the best
And you've been through it, so.
part of the speakers there, but that was good.
It was so funny. I mean, I had a bad time about that for a whole
I've never
year.
Yeah.
thought of you as a
You know, and hardly wait till next year to say what you're going to screw up on.
But you know, you do have to be, you have to be ready. There's going to be somebody, a lot of times there'll be hecklers.
Oh, yeah.
There's somebody going to try, like I just said. I mean, they knew I'd be
We've got a minute more.
all discombobulated.
Oh, yeah.
When they hit me, it's all we
Well, I think it's important, like Annie mentioned this, you know, it's important that you got to be able to laugh at yourself. You know?
Oh, absolutely.
So if you screw up on a speech,
Yeah.
you just laugh and move on, you know.
Move on. Well, I had to do a speech in Arizona. They had a tea for me, and
All right,
But
let's
it was
come
a
back
spur of the
together
moment.
here. And I
That
want
made
to
me
talk about one
nervous.
thing first, that I try to visit each one of your tables and listen in. And Richard brought up a great point, and I should have brought this out as well. Under the voice and language, it's part of the practicing, but make sure that you are pronouncing things the correct way. He told a story of when he was in high school. And I had to listen into it, Richard. I'm
That's a good
gonna
one.
relate it if you don't mind. Richard was up in front of a large group, 1,000 people, as a student in high school, and he said his quote that he was going to use was, "We all need to think." When he got up there, he said, we all need to drink. At a high school, he's a student, you know, that kind of went over real. And another one that I shared with them is President John F. Kennedy. When he was in Germany one time, he was talking to a group in Berlin, and he wanted to identify and, you know, say that he was a part of the city. And he got up there and he says, "Ich bin Berliner." The whole crowd erupted in laughter. "Ich bin Berliner" means I'm a donut. So, but he was trying to identify with his audience, and that was on him, but it was also on his speechwriter too. So,
But I wanted to add to that, one of the things that was a plus on that was that it really increased the audience for the next year. People look forward to seeing what I was going to screw up on the next year.
so table one, you had it from the visual standpoint. Who's your spokesperson? Heidi. All right. Heidi, what did we learn at Lions, Northwest Lions Leadership Institute?
We learned to speak up.
And we learned to stand up.
Yes,
My fellow
and we go like
Lions.
this. My fellow Lions. I'm Katie Scott from the Templeton Lions Club. And what we found was, with the wrong part of it, was when Bob first came in, it's like he didn't really care. He didn't engage any of us. You know, his eyes were down like this, and it's just like he was more concerned about his phone than anybody else. But his voice was very, very, you know, so you could hear part of it, but there was some that you're just like, you wanted to say, huh, right? But the right things that we found that he did was actually very nice. He dressed very well. He, you know, engaged us. When he came in, he says, "My name's Bob Cheney. Hello, fellow Lions." You know, to me, that was just a jump up. Hey, I want to listen to what he's saying. And also the subject, you know, it was not a subject of where we were going, okay, why are we sitting here? It was a subject really that was so interesting for all of us to hear. And his eye contact wasn't just at our table. It was over here, it was over there, but yet he engaged all of us at the same time. You know, and I thought that right there was really interesting for me, because I have a problem of engaging people, only for the fact I'm afraid what they're going to say. You know, but I learned a lot, and the projecting of his voice was absolutely phenomenal, Bob, and I want to say thank you for that for myself, because being, and I don't know how many of you know, and I'm not going to share a lot of it, but being a burn survivor, I've had to learn to re-talk again. So sometimes I project my voice more, and sometimes I don't realize that I'm doing it. So learning to be okay to project your voice makes me feel a lot better, because I'm a motivational speaker due to my burns. So taking this and learning this from Bob means a lot to me, more than you realize even from last time. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Table two, who's your
Well,
spokesperson?
you'll have to speak
Oh,
because
yeah,
you were
it's
here. Well, we came in late.
Yeah,
So-
By default, right?
I came in late too.
Did you come in late too?
Well, from a positive standpoint, I think Bob engaged everybody in the room as far as his presentation. We already talked about the importance of pronouncing, especially if you're using quotes. That's where it's really important. If you're going to quote somebody in a speech, then you need to make sure that you pronounce those words right. Another incident that I want to relate to, and this was at another graduation to a high school group. I was using some kind of a quote. I can't even remember exactly what it was, but I was talking about the geese, and I used the term "a herd of geese." Now everybody knows that there's no such thing as a herd of geese. This is a flock of geese. And that brought another one of those pregnant moments.
Yes.
You know, in the audience when they did it, there was a complete silence. And so I think that those are a couple of really important things. The other thing that we wanted to point out was Bob's voice needed to be a little more volume. He talks in a very even tone, doesn't or didn't really have a lot of excitement to it. And so if you're going to give a speech, you need to really have some excitement of why should I listen to you?
Right.
And so that was one thing that was pointed out, that it was kind of a level volume.
Thank you, Richard. Number 3.
Good job, Richard.
Oh, Carol Lee.
Yeah. Don't ever use, whatever.
And, oh, yes.
At the beginning of your little talk, verbally, we couldn't hear you, so, basically, so, as it went further and you got better, and you projected your voice, we truly enjoyed it much more. And I don't know what else I can say about
Well,
it.
that's fine. Thank you. To sum this up, I hope that we've given you a few techniques that can help you out, especially with nervousness. That seems to be the one thing that everybody has a problem with. I still get nervous today, and I've been doing this, I'm not going to tell you how many years. And the first speech I ever did in front of an audience, it was family weekend at the college that I was attending. I was public relations chair for the ASB. And I got up in front of and looked out at this audience, and there was over 6,000 people in this audience looking back at me. And I was going like this. I just looked out, and in an audience that size, it's hard to make the eye contact with somebody, so I just blurred the audience. And since then, I don't have a problem. I'll talk to anybody, if you all know. It's tough.
Can I ask a question? So, Bob and Richard and Gerald with that experience, I know a lot of it is preparation and so on, but I get so many things I want to say, and I'm afraid I'm going to forget something.
Yeah.
Write an outline.
True, but then that jogs something. So to me it seems, and maybe you touched on this, you need to pick and choose what you're going to share and what you're going to let the audience dig up on their own.
Yeah, and from a district governor standpoint, that's why I always went to the end, because then I could see what that club really identified with,
Right.
and then I could talk to that, have that in mind, the 5 areas of emphasis, hunger, diabetes, children's cancer, environment, and youth. You want to listen to what they're saying, and all right, you guys are doing something with the environment, and this club was doing something with vision. We all do vision, but that was your main emphasis. Talk to that, bring more of that out, or talk about their project, their potato festival, which happens over in Klamath Falls area. They have a potato festival in Merrill every year, and it's a huge thing. And that's one of the biggest fundraisers for their Lions Club, and they are in charge of that whole thing. So, and everything I believe goes to sight and hearing. So I talked about the sight and hearing. So, and that's a way to get, because I'd go in and I had all these things. Well, okay, I want to make sure I get this, and I want to make sure I get that in. I want to identify, because when you're talking to Lions, you want to identify and make it personable to them. And each club serves their community in such a different and diverse way that if you give them all that, you're just going to overwhelm them and make it personable to them. Yes, Richard?
Well, I just wanted to comment too on the fear factor. One of the reasons I think speakers get nervous is because you're placed in an insecure position. And as an example, I kind of like to relate this experience that my wife had when she took a speech class. And some people get attached to the podium.
Uh-huh.
You know, you got the podium here, and so you feel insecure. You're placed in this insecurity situation, and so you hang on to the podium. Now, some people get away from that by moving away, you know, just like Bob did, move a little bit back and forth. There can be positive and negatives to that. If you do move too much, and I watched a speaker not too long ago that walked from one edge of the stage to the other. And so pretty soon, as an audience, I wasn't listening to him. I was trying to figure out whether he's going to fall off the stage.
Yeah.
So that can be a negative, but there needs to be also some movement. My wife always relates a story when she first gave a speech, or an early speech. She was so nervous she was hanging on the podium. And in the process, in trying to remember what she was saying, she broke the podium. The whole side of the podium broke off.
Yeah, you get that white knuckle thing going
Yeah,
on.
you're hanging on so tight because you're so insecure in this position, see? And so the podium becomes your security.
Yeah.
And so that's a real negative. In her case, it broke the podium. People's trying to figure out what she's going to break next, I guess.
Oh, I think we're getting close on time.
And the other part of that is, and I guess I would take exception a little bit to your comment about using the
PowerPoint?
the PowerPoint. My son-in-law is an inspirational speaker and travels all over the United States giving speeches. He never uses a PowerPoint.
I don't even.
Yeah, never uses, basically, he doesn't even use notes because it's part of the security thing. You become so reliant on that then if you don't follow it, you lose all track of what you're supposed to be doing. So, you know, he never uses a podium, or never uses a PowerPoint.
And you do speak a lot and you're comfortable with that, if you can keep it well in mind and stuff, then no, I don't use them ever. Well, I did at Northwest Lions because we were required to. But I didn't for the public speaking component, I did for motivation. But if you can keep it in mind, that's fine. Or if you have, you know, the outline, that's what an outline is really good for. If you think you need notes, or note cards are great. Oh, note cards are the old standby from years and years and years and years. So the 3x5s, you know, index cards. Yes.
Well, to follow up on that, it's very important to know and believe in your subject, topic.
That's right.
You have to know where you're going. When I one of my first visitations as a district governor, I was over to Klamath Falls. Well, sitting out here in the club, there's 4 or 5 old-timer past district governors, and of course, they go pull my chain. Walt Firestone, Harold Pickle, they were all out there, you see, and they're pulling my chain, and then ask me questions they knew I didn't know the answer to. And, you know, you have to be ready for that too.
Well, I want to thank you all for being here. All your input is very valuable. I hope you all are able to take something away from this and use it in your Lions journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I hate to talk and run, but I gotta go set up for lunch. I have stuff I have to do. Oh, I can shut this off.